Hey friends, it's Writer Tiffany here. Very excited for my very first Let's Get Free segment of my YouTube channel, From the Page to Prosperity. What do we mean, let's get free? Well, we're talking about financial freedom, right? And so it's very important for all of us to understand how we can be free in this world. We can walk proudly with our head held high and know that we can take care of ourselves and our family. I'm going to share some financial concepts that are important to understand when building a proper financial foundation, because everyone, regardless of their socioeconomic background, deserves this knowledge and the opportunity to achieve financial independence. Everyone deserves that, right? And if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right and do it with pride. So, what does it mean to build a proper financial foundation? It means it must be done in the right order. Like building a house, which part is the most important? The foundation, right? Are you going to build the roof first or build from the ground up? The same thing applies with our financial plan. The first step is protection. What does that include? Health, disability, and life insurance. Why is health insurance so important? Well, to help cover medical costs in case we get sick and have to go to the doctor, right? Why disability insurance? Well, where's your income replacement? We need to replace our income if we were to get hurt, sick, or injured and have to be out of work for a long period of time. Side story, when I first started my journey in financial literacy, I had been on the tail end of a ACL and meniscus surgery. I had worked for the Freedom Writers Foundation as the coordinator. And one year in 2015, we had a crazy idea to invite 200 Freedom Writer teachers across the United States to Washington, D.C. for National Teacher Appreciation Week. We invited them to encourage their students to write their stories as the Freedom Writers once did, give them to their teacher, and send them with their stories to Washington, D.C. to be delivered to the Secretary of Education, like the Freedom Writers once did over 20 years ago. Fast forward after a long day of going to museums and monuments and hearing amazing speakers, we hit the dance floor because we live in Long Beach. Freedom Writers are from Long Beach. We love dancing, we love to party. And we wanted to help the teachers who might be from some rural areas or some teachers who weren't too keen on dancing, at those school dances. Well, we wanted to give them the confidence and the right steps to hit the dance floor and be one of those cool teachers at their schools. So a wobble came on, and I was leading the charge with all the teachers behind me, getting ready to do the wobble. You hear the iconic beat, wobble baby, wobble baby. So I jump to do the first wobble. And when I jumped, I felt the most excruciating pain rip through my knee. And I actually hobbled off that dance floor. But, me, the show must go on. I didn't complain. I just kept moving, with these 200 teachers throughout the city, finishing our Freedom Writer Symposium. Finally got them on the plane back to their respective states. When I got home, I realized my knee was the size of a baseball and I needed surgery. And after my surgery, wow, life hits you when you're sick or ill or injured for a long period of time. I realized, I had no savings. I was living paycheck to paycheck even before my injury, and my spending habits were I was this round on me girl, and me and my friends always going to Vegas a couple times a month because Vegas is our backyard playground here in California. And so, me balling on a budget, trying to have a good time, I didn't think about, wow, one day I might be hurt and I can't work. And if I can't work, then I can't pay my bills. And if I can't pay my bills, then wow, I was reverting into a cycle of poverty that I promised myself I would never go back into. And I found myself calling my mom for everything. Mama, Can you help me pay my rent? Mama, can you help me pay this bill? Mama, what are you eating tonight? Mama, can you help me do my laundry? Mama, 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 mama. Oh my goodness. So I was so relieved when actually another freedom writer introduced the financial literacy campaign to me, and it was literally like a breath of fresh air. Um, I felt the walls closing in on me, and at that moment, I needed some relief, and that relief was this campaign, which I'm forever grateful for. So, back to our four-layer cake. Life insurance is at the bottom layer, and it's the most important. Why? You're the ATM machine of your family. What if that ATM machine were to break down or run out? There's no amount of PIN numbers that's going to make that machine spit out money for your family's rent, mortgage, food, clothing, education, Christmases, birthdays, life, right? Life insurance is the most important so that the family can go on without financially struggling. Once our bottom layer is set, we want to get to a zero balance debt. Becoming debt free is a challenge for many people out there because getting in debt is so easy, right? We see something, we buy it, we like it, we get it. Swipe, swipe, swipe. It's just so easy to get into debt. Getting out of debt is much harder. And according to a 2018 report from Forbes, 40% of US adults would not be able to handle an unexpected expense of $400 without scrounging up the cash to borrow money from friends, family, or even having to sell something. And this is where an emergency fund can help. You guys, when I was growing up, I remember our family staying at the pawn shop. I mean, every time rent was due or a bill was due, we were all looking around the house trying to see something of value that could be sold, right? Talk about bad spending habits, it's a whole nother story. But my father used to take the food out of our cabinets to go sell it, okay, to people on the streets for his drugs and alcohol. So when it was time for something serious, we didn't have it. And it was always selling something of value. First thing was to go the kids' TV, right? And so a stash of cash can come to the rescue, not only if you were to lose your job, but also if you have an unexpected medical bill or an urgent home repair or car repair, right? So the suggested emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your annual income. But I will go further to say it's really 6 months to a year of your annual income set aside. I remember during COVID, I think there were stories of people who were calling Uber to go to the emergency room because they didn't want that ambulance bill, right? And aside if your company shuts down or there's a medical emergency, I don't know, what if the whole world shuts down again, right? We all know what that felt like during the pandemic when everything was closed, barely you could get anything that your family needed if you didn't already have it, because when you got to the shelves, they were empty, right? So we need 6 months to a year of our annual income saved, right? Because what if next time there's no stimulus? There's no government coming to the rescue. Can you honestly say and look yourself in the mirror and say that you can take care of yourself and your family for a whole year with no income coming in and no assistance from the government? An emergency fund is crucial, you guys. Start saving now. Start saving yesterday, right? So if you can take care of yourself for a whole year without any help, hey, hats off to you. You're the gold standard. But if not, keep listening, stay with me. Finally, we want to focus on our investments after your 3 layers are set, because now we can possibly take a loss with some risk that investments have. Your money can potentially grow. It can skyrocket, yes, with investments. But on the flip side, you can also lose all of your money, right? Many people try not to think about that part. And many people, when they're starting out building their financial foundation, maybe they get a windfall of money, they get a settlement or an inheritance, something happens, right? You know, you get your taxes. A lot of people go splurge on a brand new car that they're 6 months down the line can't pay the car note for and it gets repoed, right? A lot of people will get inheritance and think, let me just get lock all my money up in investments, thinking that that money's gonna double, triple, quadruple, right? Because of that awesome investment that they see. But then if an emergency happened and their money is locked up in an investment, what do they have to do? Get back into debt. Credit cards, right? Swipe, swipe, swipe again. And if it's a medical emergency or an injury or even, God forbid, loss of life and you have no protection, then the family again is left struggling. That's why it's important when you make money, you have to have the discipline to save your money. When you save your money, you need to know where to put your money so that it grows and not just growing in a bank, getting 0.0 nothing percent. You need to find a really good vehicle that is going to give you enough to beat inflation. Because if your money doesn't rise with inflation, you lose the money game. You're not able to buy that gallon of gas, that carton of eggs, that gallon of milk, right? So we all know how to make money. We can go out there and get a job and get a paycheck every 2 weeks. But what happens when you get that paycheck? We must learn to have the discipline to save our money. When we save our money, we need to know where to put it so that it can grow. And when our money grows, we need to know how to protect our money, have tax advantages, and pass our legacy onto our family with confidence. If you want to dive deeper into this topic, I'd love to invite you to one or all of our free virtual financial literacy workshops. There are 6 workshops that build on your financial knowledge. You can take them as often as you like. They are free 99. If you want to purchase a workbook and reading material to follow along with the class, I can help you do that as well. The shipping is on me. It's my gift to you. This is for the US and Canada only, but I would love to help in your financial literacy journey. This is From the Page to Prosperity with Freedom Writer Tiffany. Let's turn the page together with financial literacy.